Hi, my name is Oluwole Godwin. Welcome back to Emoji Economics. If you are just attending any of our classes for the first time, please ensure you click the subscribe button, turn on notifications, and expect more of our classes. Thank you very much. So in today's class, we'll be talking about equilibrium in the money market. Now, in the class that preceded this, we just spoke about money demand and money supply. That's just looking we're just talking about introduction to the money market and all of that. So, and in that particular class, we talk about money demand and money supply. So, it's from that class that we have all of this. So, I decided not to erase this because we'll be needing this information in this particular class. So a quick recap of what we did then. Money demand is the total demand for money in an economy at a period of time. Fine. So there are three motives for holding money: transactionary motive, speculative motive, and fiduciary motive. So all of these were explained in the previous class. I'll make sure that I leave the link to that video in the description of this particular video. And if you don't find it, please click the comment section and try to remind us. Okay, thank you for that. So now, what is basically new in this particular class is what I have on this second part of the board. So initially, we're talking about just the money demand. This is the call for money demand alone. Money demand. That's what we have in graph A, and then in graph B we have the graph of money supply alone. So when we're talking about money demand, so we plot the money balance against the interest rate. So interest rate on the vertical axis and money balance on the horizontal axis. The same thing for money supply. And money demand is money demand changes as the interest rate changes. So that was explained in the previous class, because that is what we're talking about, speculative motive of holding money. And then in B, money supply is constant irrespective of whatever the interest rate is, because money supply is something that the central bank does, or the Federal Reserve Bank does, which is not as a result of changes in the interest rate. Okay, when the central bank puts more money into circulation through its open market purchase, what it does is to put new notes, new currency, new money into circulation. And when it decides to take some money away from the economy, what it does is to do open market sales, sell bonds to individuals in the economy. Then those individuals pay, and the money is then brought into the central bank. So in that way, money is taken away from the economy and held with the central bank. So that's that about that. And in the discussion of that, you can see there is an insinuation that money supply is not dependent on the interest in the economy. So the central bank doesn't just look at it and okay, the interest rate is high, let's put more money to circulation, or put less money to circulation. No, that's not the point. That's not the point. Now, what this class is about is now this equilibrium. So let's talk about equilibrium. So I have this graph here. I have three graphs. Okay, I have three graphs where we are talking about equilibrium. So this is just the initial equilibrium. Nothing is happening. This is money demand, and then this is money supply. The money supply curve. This is the money demand curve. So the equilibrium, at equilibrium, we have what we call equilibrium interest rate. So it's not just interest rate again. I don't think we are new to all of these things. In demand and supply, you do have equilibrium price, equilibrium quantity, and all of that. So I decided to differentiate equilibrium interest rate from normal interest rates by just adding an asterisk on this I. So I asterisk is simply denoting equilibrium interest rate. So what then do we want to talk about? So the first thing I want to talk about is, what if there is an increase in national income? What if there is an increase in income? What's going to happen to money demand? And that is why I left this part of the board here from the previous class. Okay, so what if there is an increase in? So what you just have to go and look at is, here we have income in the three motives of holding money. So we have income here under the transactionary motive, and we have income under the precautionary motive of holding money. So fine, that is trying to tell us that if income should increase, people will start, there will be more transactions in the economy. Fine. If income should increase, my income increases, I buy more things, I spend more money. Your income increases, you buy more things, you spend more money. That happens, to every other person on average. So that is trying to tell us that an increase in income will increase our transactionary motive of holding money. That's one. Then when we have income again, we have income under the precautionary motive of holding money. So when there is an increase in income, alright, so individuals could separate a bigger parts of their income, to future precautions, taking precautions in the future. Alright, so it is when I have more money that I can say, okay, I think I can, instead of allocating $30,000 to to future contingencies. So let me just, I think I can allocate $37,000 now per year. Okay, simply because there's an increase in income. So that increase in income, which is not a part of this graph, what you have here is money balance, and what you have here is interest rate. So that increase in income will increase the money demand. So now, it will increase the transactional demand for holding money, to increase a part of the precautionary demand for holding money. And because money demand is a sum of all of these things, so the total money demand is going to increase because two of its parts are increasing. This is increasing and this is increasing. So how do we denote that? I'm leaving this particular graph because this is what we have initially. So how do we denote that on a graph? So there's an increase in money demand, right, which is not as a result of a change in the equilibrium interest rate. So how do we state an increase in money demand? So that's going to be something like this. That will be something like this. So there's an increase here. Alright, so in order to state what is going to happen to the demand curve, so we have to draw something like this. So this is ND2, this is ND2. So there is an increase in the demand for money. So that is how we notice, because the equilibrium interest rate is not changing. The equilibrium interest rate is not changing. So we have this. Alright, but this is what is going to happen if the money supply in the economy also rises in response to an increase in the demand for money. So, but the money supply in the economy is still fixed. That is, the money supply curve is still fixed. So, what is going to happen? So, what you have to look at is what is the new equilibrium. What is the new equilibrium? There is a demand. There is an increase in the demand for money because of the precautionary and transactional demand for money rising at the same time. But the money supply is still the same. So it's still the same as what it was before. What it was before was taking care of the initial money demand, but now that there's an increase in money demand, what it was before, what the money supply was before, cannot cater for that. So what is going to happen? So we then trace out the new. Okay, this is the new equilibrium. Good. This is the new equilibrium. So we have this I asterisk 2. So there's going to be an increase in the equilibrium interest rate. Okay, an increase in money demand is going to lead to an increase in the equilibrium interest rate simply because the money supply did not increase with respect to the increase in money demand. So what does this actually do? Okay, this is able to restore everything that has happened here to equilibrium, to the initial equilibrium. So of course, this point, you can call this point A move to B, and B move to C. So A and C are kind of the same in terms of money balance, but the interest rates are different. So an increase in interest rates is going to make us come back to this speculative motive of holding money. So there's an increase in the equilibrium interest rate, which is trying to tell us that there is an increase in the price of money, and that interest rate is also the same thing as the returns on other financial assets. So an increase in other financial assets, an increase in the interest rates, of other financial assets, that is an increase in the returns of other financial assets, would make people to invest more of their money in other financial assets that have become more profitable. So if we are assuming that the only other financial asset besides money is bond, so bond is now more profitable because the interest rate has risen. So people would decide to put more of their money into bonds instead of put more of their money into bonds. So when you put more of your money into bonds, the speculative demand for money falls. Alright, so the initial increase that occurs in transactional motive, the transactional demand for money and precautionary demand for money would be restored to equilibrium by a decrease in the speculative demand for money. Alright, necessitated by the increase in the returns on other financial assets, that is bond. Okay, that is bond in this particular case, since we assume that bond is the only other financial asset. So hope you understand that. So that is why all of this would get restored to this particular position. Alright, so that's why we have the same amount of the same money balance at the end of the day. So we are the economy is forcing people back to what it can provide for them, but at a higher interest rate. So that's that about that. Now the other one that I want us to notice, what if What if there is no change in money demand in this particular case, and the central bank decides to go on an expansionary monetary policy. So expansionary monetary policy in the form of an open market sales. That is this sales? No, an open market purchase. So the central bank in this particular case, for some reasons, decides that okay, we need to put more money into circulation. Now, there was no change in money demand, but the central bank feels that we need to put more money into circulation. So what is that going to be? So if the central bank is putting more money into circulation, what it is trying to do is to increase its money supply. So there's going to be an increase in money supply. So this is MS2. Alright, so this is point A. And it increased to this point. This is point B. Alright, but basically, the money demand did not rise. So in order to encourage people to take advantage of this increase in money supply, that is this increase in money that you have in the economy everywhere, new notes, they are going to be, I don't know, there are some times in your lives, okay, I'm talking to everyone generally now, you must have discovered that suddenly just have a sudden flow of new notes in the economy. Okay, so you don't have old notes again, now we have new notes and all of that. So that's the central bank is doing something, or the Federal Reserve Bank is doing something, trying to put new notes into the economy. So it does that. So when it does that, so what exactly is going to happen? Because money demand did not rise. So what you just have to look at is where is the new equilibrium at? The new equilibrium between the money demand, between the old money demand and the new money supply is occurring at this point. So we change that up to this. So we have I2. So there's going to be a low equilibrium interest rate, a low equilibrium, or let me say lower equilibrium interest rate from what it was initially. So the equilibrium interest rate will fall. So this is point C, simply because money supply has increased when money demand did not increase. Now what does this mean? This simply means that in order to make people take advantage, you want people to spend more money. That is why you're putting more money into circulation as a central bank, of course. So what this now causes is the lower equilibrium interest rates will make other bonds, will make this under speculative motive, will make other financial assets less profitable to hold. Okay, so because the interest rate is now lower, people will feel, what's the point of holding bonds if the return on bonds is not that significant anymore? It's not that making much of economic sense to me. So I'm going to be, this is reducing, so I'm going to be holding less of bonds, and speculative demand, if this falls, so the speculative demand for money rises. Alright, speculative demand for money rises. So then, which is the implication of what the central bank wanted initially. So it wanted people to spend money. Alright, so in that case, people decide to hold less of bonds and just more cash. Alright, so that is exactly what happens in this from an increase in money supply where the money demand did not increase. So if we can also talk about this in the other way around, that is, what if there is a reduction in the money supply? So initially using this black arrow, so we move from A to B. What if we are moving from, so this blue arrow, what if we are moving from this to this? So that simply means we'll be moving from point C, okay? This is point A. This is point, so the initial equilibrium, this is point A to B, then to C. So what if we are moving from MS2, that is trying to embark on an open market sales, trying to sell, the central bank is trying to sell bonds into the economy, and by so doing taking money away from the economy. So that simply means that it is trying to reduce the money supply in the economy. So in that case, what we explained initially, the reverse is going to happen. We have we'll be moving back from point C to point A, from point C to point A, and that simply means that the interest rate is rising, the equilibrium interest rate is rising. Bonds become more profitable for individuals to invest in, so the speculative demand for money reduces. So speculative demand for money, so when it reduces, we are able to reduce money demand to this particular point. Alright, so from this equilibrium, you are able to restore it to this particular point. So it's just the reverse of what we explained earlier. So that's that about that. Now, all of this is just talking about initial increases. I want to give you an assignment. What is going to happen if there is an increase in money suppliers and there is an increase in money demand? So I think you should be able to play with all of those things. What if there is a reduction in money demand, a reduction in money supply? What if there is an increase in money demand, a reduction in money supply? In all of those, just play with these graphs and see what is going to happen to the equilibrium interest rate and see if you can provide explanations to all of them. Alright, so if you really enjoy this class, if you have any questions, because I expect you to have questions, if you have questions, leave them in the comment section, and make sure you subscribe to this channel, turn on notifications for more of our videos. We'll be talking about I've been promising that since we're talking about the ISLM model after this, because now we are done with the labor markets, we are done with the goods market individually, and we are done with the money market individually. And the ISLM model brings in the three markets together. So, and we just have to discuss these three markets individually, so that by the time we get to the ISLM model and we start discussing it, a lot of people won't be lost. Alright, so just go through the channel. Maybe I will have to provide the links to the playlist of these individual markets in the description of this particular video, so that students see those ones first before going into the ISLM model that I'll be talking about in our very next class. So thank you very much. Once again, click on that subscribe button. It is entirely free. Turn on notifications. That bell, what the bell does in school, when you jingle it, it brings awareness. So it makes you aware that there is a new class available that you might be interested in seeing. Alright, so see you next time. I would really love to see you next time. Please stick around. Thank you.